All right, guys, this is going to be the final section of Star Defender. Basically, what we're going to do is we're just going to do some final polishing up type things. So we're going to be adding some text to the game, being able to track some different variables and things that way. We're going to kind of spice up the bosses a little bit and add some backgrounds in. So pretty basic. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to be able to track our lives. So we're going to make a text object for that. So I'm just going to double click and I'm going to make a text object and I'm going to call it text player lives. So I like to do txt and then player lives or whatever I want to call it. Okay, so I'm just going to click on the screen and put that in. What I think we're going to do is we're going to locate that kind of in the upper right portion of our layout. So I'm going to put it up here. I'm going to make the box a little bit bigger. Always make the text box bigger than what you need, because as you change the size and font, or as that text changes, if it ever can't fit in the box, it's going to like just show as invisible. It just won't show anything. So you just want to make sure you make that box a little bit bigger than probably what you need to. So we can go ahead and change the font and size to whatever we want. What I might do is I might change the text here in the properties. I might just make it say like lives or something, just so I can identify it on my layout. But we're going to code it so it's going to say something different when we're actually playing the game. And then let me just choose a font. So we'll go here, click on the three dots. I'll just pick something. I'll try Callisto. Sure, we'll try that. And then what I'll do is I will just change the size and make it a little bit bigger. So you can decide what size you want it. That's totally fine. And then you can just place it up here where you'd like it. Now, since this is tucked in the upper right corner, what we should do is the horizontal alignment, we should change that to right. And then what we can do is we can then position the box and it will kind of always stay in the upper right corner. Okay, so there's my lives up there. That should be good. So then what we're going to do is we're going to make it so that this will actually show what we want it to show. So we have to go to our event sheet. What I would do is minimize all your other groups so you're not getting overwhelmed by everything. Okay, and we're just going to add a group at the bottom. So I'm going to right click and add a group. We're going to call it text updates. Click OK. And then in the text updates group, we're just going to make an every tick event. So we're going to add an event system every tick. And basically, we just want the text to constantly update. So this should be very familiar to you if you've done all of the other games, because we use every ticks in almost every game, right? And like when we did the text on Flip or other games like that, it's basically the same thing, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to add an action for text player lives, and we're going to do set text. So I'm just going to type in the word text at the top, set text. And then in the quotation marks, we are going to type in the word lives with a colon and an empty space. Then we're going to go outside the quotation marks. I'm going to do the and symbol, which is Shift 7. So remember, the quotation marks are a string, so it's literally going to write out the word lives, a colon, and an empty space. Then out here, if I type something without quotation marks, it'll be actual code. It'll be referring to something. So if I type in player lives and we click this, that'll actually read the number of the player lives variable, right? So that's basically what we want that to say. And then since our game doesn't really have, like, we don't have a HUD layer in this game because it doesn't scroll. Right now, everything's just on layer 0. So to make sure the text never gets overwritten by anything, we're going to move it to the top of the layer. So I'm going to add an extra action for text player lives, and I'm just going to type in move. Let me see, and we're going to do move to top. Okay, just like that, move to top of layer. All right, perfect. Now what we'll do is we'll make a text object for the wave. So I'm going to go back into here. We'll just actually what I could do, since I already have like the size and everything set for this, rather than make a new text object, I think I might just clone this. So you don't just want to hold control and copy this because it'll just make more copies of the same thing. But if we go to our text player lives here on the right, I can right click it and I can just clone it. And it's going to make text player lives too. And I can drag it onto the screen and you can see it's just already set up with all the same settings. So this might be a little bit quicker. And then what we'll do is instead of text player lives 2, we're just going to call it text wave. So this is one of those things, like as a programmer, anytime you can find shortcuts to do something quicker, like I would do that. So like in the written presentation, they don't tell you to do it this way, but I think this is a great way to do it. And then what we can do is down here where it says lives for the text, we can just type in wave so that we know that it's going to be for the wave text, right? And then this one's going to be more like in the center of the layout. So then we want the horizontal alignment to be center as well. Okay, so there's the wave text. If you want to be really fancy, like you can check coordinates, you could type in exact numbers, whatever. I'm just going to eyeball it and just put it on here somewhere. So yeah, we'll just put it there. Okay, all right, so we've got that. And then we just have to go down into our text updates now, and we just have to add an update for the wave, right? So we're going to add an action for text wave, set text. Okay, and then we're just going to type in the word wave. Whoops, I want all caps for that. Wave, colon, space. Okay, and then we just want to do and wave. Now this is another spot where I could have taken a shortcut, right? I just kind of started doing it just because my instincts told me to. But we could have just copied and pasted this event and then just edited the object and the thing. But you know, if you're fast, like either one could be just as efficient there, right? Okay, now what we need to do is we're going to create score to keep track of our score. So once again, we're kind of just polishing up and doing some of these final things here. So right click, global variable, score, and the default can be 0. We'll click OK. So we got our global number score up here. Okay, then we just have to go into our code, and anywhere that we destroy an enemy or a boss, we just need to give ourselves points. So we're going to go into bullet collisions. And let's see, we want to find enemy on destroyed, and we just add an action to that. And we do system add to, and we'll choose score. And you can pick what you want. We'll just say 10 points for an enemy. They're just a one shot, right? So you shouldn't get a ton of points. And then we'll do boss on destroyed. So we just got to find that. Here's boss on destroyed right here. So I'm going to add an action to boss on destroyed. And we're going to do system add to, score. And we'll say 100 points for a boss, right? Because they take a lot of hits. There we go. But you can choose whatever scoring system you want to do there. Okay, so we've got that. Then let's go back to our layout now. So now we've done this. So let's go ahead and just clone one of these and make a score text, right? So let's say I clone the text wave. So let's just clone it. It'll be called text wave 2. Drag it onto the screen. We'll call it text score. Okay, and then we'll go down here and we'll change the actual text property to say the word score so we don't get confused. Press enter, and then this will change. And then we're going to put the score in the top left. And then since we're putting on the left side, we're going to do horizontal alignment left. Okay, so we've got that. And then, of course, what are we going to do next? We're going to go into our text updates, right? So let's go back here. Go back down. I'm going to minimize this. Go back into text updates. Now we just add one for score, right? So here, we'll try the copy method, right? So let's just copy this. So if I just hold control and drag it right below, I've got another one, right? So I have to change the text wave to text score. So I just right click on it, do replace object, and I want to replace it with text score. And then here I just want to double click and edit, and then we just replace it with the word score. So score, and then here we want the score variable. So we start typing score here without quotation marks. Go, and then click done. All right, so now all of our text objects should be updating. So if we play the game, it should work. Now, the next thing that we want to do is there's a couple ways you can do this, okay? I'm going to just do it like how they tell you in the presentation. But the issue that we have now that we've added score is that on start of layout, we destroy a boss and an enemy, right? So let me just run my game once really quick. So let's just run it. Okay, so you can see here as I run the game, I started off with 110 points. And the reason why I started with 110 points is this. Go back into here. It's because these two get destroyed on start, and technically we programmed it so when they get destroyed, I get points, right? So the way they're having you work around it, which I don't like, I think it's like more confusing than what it needs to be, but they're probably just teaching you about group disabling and all that. But they actually have you disable the bullet collisions group, which contains the code that gives you score. And then we just reactivate the group after the wave starts, right? An easier way to do this, if you want to do it the easy way, is all you do is right here, I'll just do it. You can choose which way you want to do this. I guess I'll just show you both. But all we have to do to fix it is we just add an action, system, set value, and we just want to set score to 0. And then we just make sure that that set score to 0 happens after the enemies are destroyed, right? So they get destroyed, our score is 110, we just reset it to 0, and then it starts the wave. So if I run it, boom, it's fixed, right? 0 points. So to me, it's way easier to fix it with that one action than what they have you do. But I'm going to show you what the presentation does. So if you do this and just want to leave that, that's fine. But this is what they do in the presentation. So they actually have you take this bullet collisions group, and we right click it and we edit it. And we actually make it inactive on start. So you'll see that the event will be gray. This will be like the boss group on Flip. We did that way back in the day. And then what they do is the group is disactive, and then on start of layout, they just have you activate the group. System, set group active, set group active. And we're going to do bullet collisions, and we're going to make it active. So it's just like an extra step, but that's what they do is they destroy them and then they activate the group, which essentially is the same thing. So it just saves a step, right? We just set score to 0 instead of deactivating a group and then reactivating the group. So whatever, either way, they do the same thing. I'll just leave them both in mind. It'll work either way, right? Okay, so we've got that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make another text object called a text status. And this status is what it's going to do. It's going to be like a big text box in the middle of our layout. So it's going to be like a big text in the middle that's going to pop up when we lose, and it's going to tell us like what wave we got to and what our score was and stuff like that. So it's kind of like the one we did on Asteroid Destroyer. So once again, I'm just going to copy one of these text objects. So I'm just going to clone the text wave again. So now text wave 2, drag it onto the screen. I'm going to rename it, and it's going to be called text status. It's going to be like our status at the end of the game. Text status. And then we'll just type in status here so we know. Okay, so we have our text status. Now this one, you could make the font bigger if you want to. I would make this box really big, just so it's like really huge and the player can see it. And I would maybe go a little bit bigger on the sides, just get like really nice, big, like in your face text. Okay, and I'll just make this like really big. Okay. I might make it fill like the whole, not the whole screen, but a big chunk of it there. Really big, huge text status box here, okay? So we've got that. We did that. And then what we want to do, obviously, if I play the game, I don't want to see a giant word status in the middle. So we're going to make it invisible. So initially visible on the left, you're just going to turn that off, okay? And then we're just going to go to our event sheet and make that operate the way we want to. So we want to go to the event where the player gets destroyed. So that's going to be in the bullet collisions. And I think it's around here. Let me see here. Player on destroyed right here. So player on destroyed. What we're going to do is if player lives is greater than 0, this is telling us to restart or to like reset the player, right? Right now, if our player lives goes to 0 or lower, or if it goes below 0, like where we would get a game over, we haven't actually programmed the game over yet, right? So that's what we're going to do right now is program the game over. So what we're going to do to set the situation for if the player lives is less than 0, rather than make an event that says, you know, this one says player lives is greater than or equal to 0, rather than make one that says less than 0, we're just going to make an else onto this. So if I go to this player lives greater than 0 and I right click, I can just add an else like this, and it will put an else right below it. So this situation here means is if I get destroyed and my lives is now less than 0, which is going to be my game over situation, right? So we're going to add an action for text status. We're going to set text. Okay. And it's going to say, it's going to be more of a sentence, right? So it's going to say, you've made it to, and I'm going to do an empty space. And then I'm going to say what wave we got on. So I have to go outside the quotation mark, type an and symbol, type the wave variable. So it tells us the wave variable. Type the and symbol again, because now I'm going to go back into a string. So I'm going to put 2 quotation marks. Okay. Wave. And then after the wave, I'm going to say wave Or no, sorry. Now we're going to do score, right? So you've made it to, oh, I have to type in the word wave here. Yeah. You made it to wave and then a space, and then it's going to say the wave number. And then what we're going to say is, um, and I got to make sure I got a space there. Okay. And scored. And then we're going to say how many points we scored. So then we're going to go and I'm going to put empty space after scored. I'm going to do an and. Okay. And I'm going to type in score to do the score amount of points. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to do another and then 2 quotation marks. And we're going to type in the word points. Exclamation point. So sorry, that seemed kind of confusing, but here it is. You just look at it and type this in. Just pause the video and copy this. But basically it's saying you've made it to wave and then whatever the wave number is and scored whatever the score number is points. So we'll click done. And that's what it's going to say when your lives are 0. So I'll try it really quick and see if it works for my text box. So, and what I'm going to do, like when you're playtesting, we want to make it go fast, right? So let me see here. Player lives, I'm going to set player lives to 1 right away so that we can just test it out really quick. So let's just hop in. Okay, so I'm going to die. It'll go to 0. So I think I'll still survive. Yep, but then this time when I die, it's going to do, there we go. -1. My text didn't pop up. Oh, yeah, I forgot to set the text visible, right? That would help. Let's do that. So let's go back down, text updates. So right here, not text updates. It's when the player is destroyed. So here we have to add an action for the text status. So let's actually finish the event before we test it, right? Text status and then visible. So we have to set it visible first. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we could take the other text objects and set them invisible if we think it's weird, but we'll just try and see how it looks. So we'll try it really quick. Go ahead and die again. Because what's going to happen is these other text objects are still up here. So if you wanted to, so now it says you made it to wave 1 and scored 0 points. Now you can see there's a little bit of spacing issue here. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that. And then this here goes to -1. So what they recommend you do is we could just make that invisible for this screen so it doesn't show -1 there. So what we'll do is we'll add an action here right underneath where we did the set visible. We'll add an action for text lives. And we'll just set that invisible. So we'll do set visible. And we're going to toggle it to invisible. Okay, click done on that. Okay, so we've got that. That's going to fix that part. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to, that'll fix that. Oh, and then we got to fix this part in here. So in here we noticed we needed some more spaces. So let's put a space before the P and I think before the A. So we'll add an empty space there and there. And I think that'll look good. All right, so that's basically our text part there. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do some stuff with our layers, okay? So what I'm going to do is we're going to go back to the game layout, back here, and we are going to rename this layer like the game layer. So just right-click on layer 0 and rename. We're going to call that the game layer. That's going to be the main layer where everything's happening. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to add a layer to the bottom, and I'm going to call that layer BG for background. Now, you guys probably know this from experience, but what happens is this original layer that you had on there is not transparent. That's what puts the white box on the screen. So because that's now on top, if we put anything on the background, it's going to get covered up by this white box. So you have to remember to go to this game layer. You want to make sure you select it. And on the left, you want to make sure you make it transparent. Okay, and if you do it right, you'll see that white box goes away and now it just all looks gray. And then you can go ahead on the background and make that not transparent. That'll put the white back on. So you just want to make sure, basically your bottom layer, you always want transparent turned off, but anything above that layer, the transparent should be turned on. Okay, so now we've got a background layer. Now that we have a background layer on, we can make a sprite for the background. So make sure the background layer is highlighted. Double click to make a sprite without clicking on your giant text box there. So we're going to make a sprite. We'll just call it BG for background, make it easy. Actually, I'm going to call it game background. because we're going to have another background, I think, later. We'll see. We'll just say game background. Insert, click on screen, load an image, and you should have a game background in here. Yep, it's just that first background image there. We want to take the origin, and we want to put that in the top left. So you're going to make sure you're highlighted the origin button here on the left. Right-click the word origin and quick assign to top left. Close that out. The background will be on here, and then we just want to go here and set the position to 0, 0, 0, 0. And that should be good. Yep. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock that background down so that we can't move it. Now, the issue you're going to notice is we can't see our text anymore because the background's very dark. The middle text works, but as it gets bigger, it's going to kind of go out into the middle anyway. So what I'm going to do is we have to click on all of our text objects and make them a color that is lighter. So I think we can probably do all three at once. If I hold Control and just select all of them, I can go down here and I'm pretty sure all their colors will change. So let's do something like a bright orange maybe, or like a yellow or something. Sure, let's try like this bright orange. Okay, and you can see they all change to orange. And then this middle one's going to be tricky because it's going to be like over dark and light areas. So I'll just pick something maybe in between. So let's see. And you can just pick whatever color you want. What if I did like a gray, like a medium gray maybe? Oh, that's not really the greatest because it needs to be kind of dark in the middle. Yeah, we'll try it. Or maybe like a medium to darker gray. We'll try something like that. Just so I can read it there. This, I think, will be okay because I think that's readable here. And then over the black, I think that's going to be, you can see how it's really readable on the black and it's still readable in the light. So I think that's good there. So that one's going to be tricky. You might just want to pick something that you think would work well. If your text is a little bit smaller and it's just within the white area, then you could just go with darker text. So that's going to be up to you. All right, so we've got that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a new layout for a start screen. So find your layout folder on the right. You're going to right click it, add a layout. We are going to add an event sheet with it. So click add event sheet. We're going to rename layout 1 start. And we're going to rename event sheet 1 ES start. Okay, so we've got those done. We're going to go back to our start layout here. Then we need to check some settings. So the start layout, we want to make sure it's 1280 by 720. So you're going to click on it and then go to size here, 1280 by 720. Okay, so that part should be good there. The other thing we want to do is you want to click on your game title at the top, and there's going to be a setting on the left called first layout, and you want to change that to start. Now, some people get confused with what this first layout actually does. What this does is it makes it so that if you like publish and run the game, that's the layout that it's going to open with. It doesn't actually affect anything right now because you're still editing the game. So the game is still going to run whatever layout you have selected. So some people get confused when they change this and they think it's always going to run the start layout. That's not how it works. It's when the game is published, that's what layout will run when you're actually just like running the game. Okay. So it's nothing you're actually going to physically see make a difference here, but it's just something you want to get in the habit of doing for if you were to make a game that you're going to publish, right? Okay, so now we're going to make the start background object. And this one, we don't need to worry about layers here because the start background is pretty simple, or the start layout is pretty simple. So I'm just going to double click and make a sprite, and we'll just call it start BG. And I'm going to insert, click on the screen, load an image. We're going to find the start background, which is right here, the title. Yep, and we're going to do the same thing, origin in the top left. Close that window, and then we're going to set the position to 0, 0. And boom, we're pretty good there. That's all you really need to do there. It's a pretty easy layout to make, right? So then we just need to make an event that gets us to the game. And on the title, it says press spacebar to begin. So we want to make sure we code it that way. So all we do is we go to ES Start, we add a new event, keyboard, on key pressed. We're going to click and choose spacebar. Okay, and then the action is where it's going to go to the game. So we're going to add an action, system, go to layout. See, go to layout, and we're going to go to the game layout. And that, I think, is pretty much it for the start ES start. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our normal event sheet. And when we get like this game over, we need to make it so that we can restart the game, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to make an event here in the user input group. So I just want to make sure I'm in the right spot here. User input. There we go. So right now we have just this on enter press to restart the layout. We obviously don't want that now. We want it to be a little bit different. So we're going to add a condition to this. So we're going to right click, add another condition, and we're going to add a condition that the player lives has to be less than 0. So we're going to do system, compare variable, player lives. Let's see, player lives has to be less than 0. Okay, so if we press enter when player lives is less than 0, instead of restarting the layout, we can delete that, and we're just going to go back to the start screen. So add an action, system, go to layout, and we're going to go back to the start screen. Okay. The other thing we need to do is we need to reset our global variables because we don't want to restart the game and have all the score from the last run. So we're going to add an action for system, and it's called reset global variables. Okay. And then we have to deactivate that bullet. If you did, so this part, if you did the, like if you deactivated this group and did it that way, then you have to deactivate it again here. So I'm going to add an action, system, set group active. And then we want the bullet collisions deactive. That's ready to go for the next run, basically. Okay. So that's what you have to do there. Now remember, if you simply just put this action that sets the score to 0, you don't have to do any of this bullet collision, activate, deactivate malarkey. So if you just did this, don't worry about that last thing I just did. Okay. All right. We're almost there. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to do some fun stuff with the bosses. We're going to make them a little bit more complex and make it so that they shoot different boss bullets out of different areas, right? So if we click on the boss bullet here, you'll see we've got 3 different bullet types, and we're going to make them like so one boss can shoot all 3 kinds of bullets. Now, I'm going to be honest, this is probably, like when you're reading the presentation on this, probably one of the hardest parts of the entire game. So hopefully having a video version of this will help, but it does get kind of tricky. So first we'll start when we do the event sheet part, but the first part's going to be easier with just setting the boss up. So you're going to double click on your boss, and we're going to get into this editor here. And the reason why this gets a little bit tricky now is because each boss is going to have several different image points that they can shoot from. So we're going to click on boss 0 here. And what we're going to do is we're going to be on the image point editor here, or the origin button. So you should see the word origin here. We're going to make 2 image points. So I'm going to right click and add a new image point, and right click and add another one. So you should have image point 1 and 2. Now, because this gets a little bit more complicated, they're going to have different bullets coming from the left and right side, and from guns, cannons, lasers. They're all going to be different, right? So we're actually going to name the image point so it's not as confusing. So we're going to rename this one, and we're going to call this one left gun. Okay, and then we're going to rename image point 2, and we're going to call that one right gun. Okay, so we've got those renamed. Now we're going to click on the left gun, and we're going to put the left gun, and you're just going to click where you think the left gun should go, or maybe it should be on the actual gun part there, right? So here, I'll zoom in on. So like if you zoom in on this, you can actually see like little guns drawn on here. So you can try to get that left gun like right in the middle, but that's the left gun there. Okay, and then the right gun is going to be down here. So you want to click on right gun, and then click over here to put the right gun on. Okay, so that's how it should look. And if I zoom out just a little bit here, you should see left gun up here, and then right gun is down here. Okay, now the next guy, you can see that he's got like these big cannons on here. So he's going to be a little bit different. Okay, so what he's got is he's got a left cannon and a right cannon and a left gun and a right gun. Okay, so he's got a little bit going on here. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to make all of those. So we're going to add 4 image points to this guy. And let's just start renaming them. So we're going to do left cannon. We are going to do right cannon. We're going to do left gun. Well, left fun. There we go. It's going to shoot fun at you. Left gun and then right gun. Wouldn't that be fun if you made a joke ship and it had a left fun and a right fun and it shot fun bullets at you? Okay, so left cannon, left gun, right gun. So the left cannon is this big cannon right here. So click on left cannon and then just click in the middle of that big cannon. The right cannon is this cannon down here. Okay, and then the left gun, I think it's just this spot right here. It looks like there's a little gun right here. So we'll do left gun here, and then we'll do right gun down here, right there. Okay, so right gun, left gun, and then cannons are there. Okay, now this guy's the most complex, number 3 here. So it's frame number 2, but it's the third boss. So this guy is gonna get 10 image points. So let's go ahead and make 10 image points. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So he's got a lot going on, right? All right, so we're going to get a left gun 1. Left gun 1. We're going to get a left gun 2. Gun 2. Okay, we're going to have a right gun 1. And a right gun 2. Okay. We're going to have a left laser. And we're going to have a right laser. And we're going to have a left cannon. And we're going to have a right cannon. Okay. So we're going to do a, let's do here. I'm trying to think here. Left 2, 4. That would be 8. Yep. So we've got it right. All right. So we're going to do a left laser. So we're going to rename this one. Let's do a left laser. And we're going to have a right laser. Okay. And then we're going to have a left cannon and we're going to have a right cannon. And I just want to double check here. Yep. So we're going to rename. Let's do left cannon. Rename. And we're going to have a right cannon. And then I think there's actually, I think there's 2 lasers. So let's rename this one. So we're going to make this first one left laser 1. And this one will be right laser 1. All right. And then we're going to have a left and right laser 2 down here. Rename left laser 2 and a right laser 2. Right laser 2. Okay, so I know it seems really complex, right? All right, so now we got to put these bad boys on here. So I want to double check. I have some notes here. So we're going to zoom in on this here. All right, so what I think we've got, if we look at this guy really close, these are the 2 guns. So this is left gun 1 is this little guy here. Left gun 2 is this guy right underneath it. Okay, and then we'll do the left cannon, which is this guy right here. And then the lasers are the cannon is this big guy down here. That's the cannon down there. And then the lasers, there's 2 little laser spigots here. So then we'll do left laser 1 here, and we'll do left laser 2 here, right next to it. Okay, so kind of tricky. So just to refresh, okay, left gun 1, left gun 2, left laser 1, left laser 2, and then left cannon is, left cannon is this guy right here. So we'll do the right side. So we'll start here with the right cannon is right here. So right cannon goes here. Okay, and then these are going to be the 2 right lasers here. So let's do right laser 1 right here. It's really important that you're clicking on the right area. So there's right laser 1, and then right laser 2 is going to go down here. And then right gun 1, click on that, will be here. We'll put it on the bottom one, and then right gun 2. I don't think it matters which order the right guns are in. All right, so I think we've got it. So that was a lot there. If I zoom out, So left gun 1, left gun 2, left laser 1, left laser 2, left cannon. And then you just do the opposite on the right side. All right. So we got all that. That was kind of a trickier part for doing like just image points. That was actually pretty complex, right? All right. So now what we need to do, let's go back to our event sheet here. We need another global variable. So what we're doing is we now need to track like what bullet types the boss is shooting so that we can attach the frame to the bullet type. So we're going to make a global variable and we're going to call it boss bullet type. And it can be 0 to start. Okay. All right. So now this is where it's going to get tricky. Okay. So just bear with me here. We need to go into the boss shooting group. We've got our boss on shoot here. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we need to determine what the bullet types are for each boss. And we need to kind of get those in here. So what we're going to do is on this on turret shoot, on this green arrow, you're going to make a sub event. So add a sub event. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do system compare variable. And we're going to do boss bullet type equals 0. Okay. So you have that right here. And then what you're going to do is you can just copy and paste this a couple more times. So if I just right click it, copy, right click in the same spot and paste, and then right click in the same spot and paste again. And then we're going to have one for boss bullet type 1. So we're going to change this one to 1. Okay. And then we're going to change this one to 2. Okay. So it should look something like that. Just make sure that all 3 of these should be even with each other and they're all a sub event of the on turret shoot. Okay. All right. So if boss bullet type is 0, we're going to add an action and we're going to do system set value. And we're going to set the boss bullet type to 1. Okay. This is going to be kind of like the enemy movement part where we're doing a cycle. So basically, if the boss shoots a bullet type 0, then it's going to change the 1, and then the next shot is going to be the boss bullet type 1. And if that shoots, it's going to change the 2, and if 2 shoots, it's going to go back to 0. So we're just creating a cycle that the bullets can use to change from one to another. So if boss bullet type equals 1, we're going to add an action. Or actually here, let's do a little quick part here. So we're just going to copy this down to here, and then copy this down to here. And then we're going to change this boss bullet type to 2. We're going to change this one to 0. There we go. All right, so it should look like this. So boss bullet type 0, set it to 1. If boss bullet type's 1, set it to 2. If it's 2, then set it back to 0. Okay. Then what we're going to do is on the boss bullet type 1 and 2, we're going to add an else on top of those. So what we're going to do is you're going to right click and add another condition. And we're going to do system else. And this else needs to go right above the boss bullet type equals 1. And then we're just going to copy one to go above the boss bullet type 2. So just like that. Okay. All right. So we've got that. Then what we're going to do is we've got this boss type 0, 1, and 2. This is where it's going to get tricky. And this is where, like in the presentation, people get confused. We are going to take all 3 of these and we are literally going to move them as a sub-event of boss bullet type 0. Okay? So these 3, this boss type is 0, 1, and 2, they were just up here. We selected them all and we made them all a sub-event of the boss bullet type 0. Okay? Then what we have to do is this spawn boss bullet has to go down into these as well. Okay, so I just want to double check here and make sure I've got this right. I think so. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this boss bullet here and we're just going to move it down right below the turret fire rate. And we're going to spawn the boss bullet there. And then we have to copy this and put this on each of these below the turret action. Okay. So now we've got that boss spawning, the bullet spawning in here as well. Okay. All right. So we've got that. We've got that. And then the other thing we have to do is all of these animation frames that say boss.type, we're going to change that now. So because we're in boss bullet type 0, all the animation frames are going to match that type. So we're going to go down to here and just change this to 0. Okay, right there. And then we're going to change this one. So anywhere it says boss.type, that animation frame, we're just going to change that to 0. We're going to do this one and we're going to change it to 0. Okay, so we've got all that in. So that should be how this part looks there. So now I think we're good to go there. All right. And then what we're going to do, okay, is we are going to now copy this entire chunk of code here. Okay, all of this, the 0, 1, and 2. Now we're not going to move it, but we're going to copy it. So you're going to hold Control, and we're going to do one as a sub-event of the 1, and we're going to do one as a sub-event of the boss bullet type 2. Okay, now I'm going to show you this so you can see if you have it right. If I click this black arrow and minimize all of these, right? If you minimize them, you should just see the boss bullet type 0, 1, 2. They should all be even with each other. And then as I open each one up, I should see the sub-event with the 0, 1, 2. Okay, this one, when I open it up, I should see the 0, 1, 2. And then this last one, when I open it up, I should see the 0, 1, 2. Okay. All right, so that's what this part should look like. I know, and this is like really tricky when you're doing the presentation, right? Okay, so then what we're going to do is now we're going to make the bullets spawn from the specific guns that we created. So let's just go to the boss bullet type equals 0. Okay, and we're going to open this up. And right here where we have it spawn the boss bullet, instead of, we're going to double click when it spawns the boss bullet. And for the image point, we're going to make it spawn from the image point called left gun. Now here's the thing. This is a part where it will not automatically pick up what you typed in. So you have to do this manually. So you have to type it exactly the same way you did on the animation. So you might have to pause at this time and go back and look at your ship and see what you called that image point. But so I was really careful with mine. I did capital letters and I did use empty spaces for this. So that's the way I did mine. So we're going to spawn it just like that. Okay. Now we're going to have it spawn one from the left gun and one from the right gun. So in order to have it do another bullet here, we're going to hold Control and we're going to highlight these 3 actions right here. And then we're just going to copy and paste them. So if I just right click and copy, and I right click in the same spot and paste, I'm going to get another set. So this is shooting a second bullet, but the second bullet now I double click where I had the left gun and I'm just going to change it to right gun. Okay, right gun, like that. Okay, so that's what the type 0 boss is going to do. Or if the bullet type is 0, that's what the type 0 boss is going to do. Okay, so we're good to go there. Okay, so then when boss type equals 1, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do left gun and right gun. So we're going to go ahead and go to this boss bullet event here. And we are going to do image point. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we are going to do right gun. Okay, done. And then we're going to copy these and do a left gun. So once again, right click copy, all 3, right click paste. Okay, and then we're going to change this one to left gun. All right, so we got that. Perfect. So we got that for the type equals 1. And then for type equals 2, down here, this one's going to do 4 different guns. So we're going to click this one. We're going to go image point. We're going to do right gun. This is going to be right gun 1. Actually, I think I didn't. I'll have to double check this. So I'm going to do this right now, but I'm pretty sure I did it like that. So I'm going to go done. Let me go into my boss. And we go to the one that has multiple left and right guns. Okay, so I did put a space after the word gun. So yeah, it's really just important to check that. So this one here is going to be right gun 1. Done. Okay, so I'm going to copy this whole set. Okay, copy and then paste. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste, and this one's going to have 4 different ones. Paste and then paste again. So you can see I've got 4 sets of bullet spawning here. So we've got right gun 1, and then this next one is going to be right gun 2. So I can just change that to a 2. Okay. And then we've got left gun 1 and left gun 2. So we can change this to left. So yeah, you guys are just gonna have to really be careful and check and just make sure you're consistent with your spelling and casing on all this. Okay, and then this is gonna be left gun 2. If any one character is wrong, it won't trigger properly. Okay, so left gun 2, left gun 1, right gun 2, right gun 1. Okay, so we've got all that. Perfect. All right. Now we're going to go down into boss bullet. So let's minimize this. We're done with that one for now. So minimize that. So if you've got that all correct, I'll show it again. This is how it should kind of look. It's got a lot of stuff in there. You can also look at the sample code on Google Classroom if you want to double check. So now I'm going to open this one up. Just so you know, though, if you check the sample code, all of these have a separate like stop animation in there. We don't need it for the way that we did it because we set the animation speed on our objects to 0. So that's one of those extra things that they do that I don't think is necessary. So yeah, don't worry if you don't have the stop animation thing in here. If you followed the video the whole way through. If you did the presentation for the first part, then you might need the stop animation in there. All right, so we're going to go to boss bullet type 1. And once again, we're just going to program the different bullets in here, right? So this one is just going to be a single shot. So this can just stay at image point 0. So this one's good. Okay, so now we're going to go to type equals 1. This one, we're going to have a left cannon and a right cannon. So let's go ahead and do image point left cannon. Okay, and then we're going to copy and paste the set of 3, and we're going to do a right cannon. So Control C to copy, Control V to paste. I'm kind of just showing you different ways to copy and paste as we go through here. Sometimes I drag it, sometimes I right click it, sometimes I do keyboard. All right, so this one we're going to change to right cannon. Okay, good. And then we'll go down to boss bullet type equals 2, and we're going to have the left gun 1, left gun 2, right gun 1, right gun 2. Okay, now what we could do potentially is we could go up to here and just copy out of the one we already did, but I'll just do it again. It's not a big deal. All right, so left gun 1. Okay, done. Okay, and then we're just going to copy these 3. Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and then paste again and paste again. So we should have 4 of these. So left gun 1, left gun 2, right gun 1, and right gun 2. So it should look something like that. Okay, so we've got all that. Now, the other thing we have to do to this entire section is, since we are in bullet type 1, we want the frame to match it. So on all these animation frame zeros, make sure you're under else boss bullet type equals 1. All these animation frames need to change to 1. So we're going to change that to 1, change this one to 1, and change this one down here to 1. Okay. All right, so this section should be done. And now we're going to do into else boss bullet type 2. All right, so let's get into here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do type is 0. So this one I think we're going to leave. And this one we're going to change all the animation frames to 2. So let's just do that right away so we don't forget. So all these animation frame zeros we're going to change to 2. There we go. Okay, and just make sure that those are 2 in the one where it says boss bullet type 2 right here. Okay. All right, so then the first one, this one we can just leave. Type equals 1. This one we can actually just leave. And then on type equals 2, we're going to do the lasers. We need left laser 1 and 2 and right laser 1 and 2. So we're going to go ahead and click this one, and we're going to do image point left laser 1. And I'm going to double check and see that I spelt my lasers with a Z and not an S. That should be on this third guy here. Laser. Yep, I spelt them with a Z. So yeah, once again, just check your spelling. Make sure that looks right. All right, so let's copy and paste this. And I think this one's going to have 4 total. Yep. So let's do Control C to copy, Control V to paste, paste, paste. All right. So we're going to have left laser 2 on this one. And then right laser 1 and right laser 2. So you can see why like labeling things accurately, and that makes sense, is like, this is why we couldn't just have image point 1, image point 2, image point 4. Like, it just wouldn't work. It's too complex. And then this one will be right laser too. So sometimes even image points, you have to name them. Right laser 2. Now we like have this very complex setup where these bullets will spawn from a bunch of different places. All right. So one last thing, and then I think we're actually done with the game here. So then all that we want to do is we're going to go back into these boss bullet types. And for each boss bullet type, we're going to set the speeds to be consistent. So let's go to boss bullet type 0 and open that up. And anywhere that it has bullet speed, we're going to set them all to 400. So I'm going to change this 250 to 400. And we're going to change this 250 to 400. Okay. And I'm going to go down here. Any bullet speed, we're going to make 400. On. And then this one here is going to be 400. And down here, this one's going to be 400. And this one's going to be 400. And this one's going to be 400. And this one's going to be 400. Okay, so just make sure, double check, all the bullet speed should be 400 in the boss bullet type 0 section. So now I'm going to minimize that. I'm going to open up boss bullet type equals 1. And all the bullet speeds in here, we're going to try 300. So we're going to go 300. I know this gets kind of tedious, but you can kind of like skip ahead a little bit if you know what to do here, or you can just listen to me as you do it. Okay, 300, 300, and basically any bullet speed I see in this section, I'm changing to 300. I'm going kind of quick, so I might miss one, but I'm not going to like sit here, on the presentation with you guys and try to like carefully look if I got them all. I'm just going to trust that you're careful on yours and you find them all. I'm going to go quicker because I want to, I'm sure you don't want this video going on forever. All right, so lastly, so just to recap here, in this boss bullet type 0 section, all the speeds should be 400. In this section, all the speeds are 300. And then in the last section, we're going to do 500 for all of them. So open up boss bullet type 2. All the bullet speeds here, we're going to change to 500. And that's just going to get them nice and consistent. This one here. Done. And then this one here. This one here. All right. And then you definitely want to make sure you save. And then obviously try your game out. And hey guys, so I was just play testing my finished game to make sure everything was good. And I did notice a couple of hiccups that I want to make sure. I don't know if I just didn't do them at the right time, or if it's something like maybe I did it in one video and then like forgot to change it in the second video. But there's just a couple like little tweaks that I want to make sure you guys make so you don't have the same mistakes I had in my finished game. But everything for the most part I think worked really well if you followed my videos. The one issue I noticed is that like when the power-ups come out, they come out of the gate like hot, like they're running fast, like you can't even collect them, they're shooting so fast. So probably when we created the power up, I forgot to have you like set the speed variable a little bit lower. So if you just go to your layout and click on power up, I would slow this down to like 125, 150. Like you want it slow enough so that you can actually move to it and catch the power up as they come out. So that's one issue, is the power ups are just coming out really fast. The other issue is kind of a big one. And what this is this is something that we had in the code earlier just for like testing, but then we needed to remove it later and we didn't do that. So if we go to our ES game, and you go into the bullet collisions group. So it's on this event 25 for me, but it's this bullet on collision with enemy. We had this sub event here that says if enemies equals 0 to restart the layout. And what that was very early in the game before we had a wave system. We just wanted it so like you kill the enemies and it would keep resetting. So we need this gone, because what happens is when I run my game and I destroy the first wave, it just restarts instead of going to the next wave. So make sure if you have this, like check and see if you have it, but you need to get that out of there. Other than that, I think everything else in my game worked just fine. So once you've done those tweaks, you make sure that that's good and you've play tested yourself, then your game should be good to go to turn in.